Come satisfy your appetite for wealth with baking profits. Now, here's your hosts, Mike and Brad.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to Baking Profits. Today, we're going to give you all a consensus recap where we talk about some of the exchanges that we met up with, some of the businesses that we got a chance to network with, our partnership with AstraBit, and we'll wrap it up with some questions and answers. So let's dive right on in. I know that the exchanges were a huge part of consensus, especially for us as a trading bot company.
For sure.
We got a chance to speak with a lot of exchanges. Did any one of those really stick out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I think there was really two, in my opinion. One, we got an opportunity to meet and talk with BingX. They had some people there at the Consensus. They came by our booth. We got a chance to talk with them. I think it was cool to see what their roadmap was for their exchange. They're a little bit of a smaller exchange. I think they're top 20, top 25 in liquidity, but they're kind of on the lower end of that. So it was cool to get a chance to talk with them and kind of understand what their future plans were as a centralized exchange. One of the benefits to BingX that I really liked was the fact that you could trade stocks on BingX. So it gives you the opportunity to, trade crypto and stocks, which right now there's really not an option for that I'm aware of. The big exchanges like Binance and, Bybit and some of these other exchanges, it's crypto only. So it was really cool to see that they offered the ability for you to trade stocks and crypto in one, house location. The other one is one that we actually met up with back in October in the fall, which was Change Finance. They're a decentralized exchange, but they're able to do cross-chain aggregation, which allows them to have a larger liquidity pool, which is probably one of the biggest challenges for decentralized exchanges right now is the liquidity side of it. So I thought the way they went about handling their cross-chain aggregation and how they went about pooling their volume and liquidity together to be able to not have wide spreads, which is something that you see on decentralized exchanges, was interesting. So both those exchanges were probably the two main ones that really stood out to me and I thought were pretty intriguing.
Yeah, definitely. The Change Finance guys are legit. BingX was a great conversation. I know that, these guys are struggling with just being able to serve the United States in terms of exchanges. I know some of the bigger exchanges are losing customers to these smaller exchanges because of those KYC restrictions. And we just saw that with Bybit heavily recently. I think as we see more of these medium to larger exchanges, throw these regulations down, more smaller exchanges are going to pop up like BingX and the like. So it's going to be interesting to see, what the future holds. I know regulation was a hot topic for a lot of people at Consensus. It was definitely ironic. We are in, Austin, Texas, in the United States. We're at the largest crypto conference, and the biggest question that we got asked, how do we as United States citizens trade this?
Yeah.
It was kind of comical, but one thing you mentioned about the BingX being able to trade stocks, I like that. I want to see more of a transition of getting some of these crypto enthusiasts into standard traditional finance. I think trying to get them to think long-term investments and a little bit away from, this high volatile options, penny stock style of trading. It'll be nice to see a blend together.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think the more that we can have a longer term mindset and kind of change the mindset a little bit in crypto, everybody's kind of like, it's a very gambler's mentality in crypto compared to the stock market, which is much more sophisticated. And most of the people in the stock market are, more looking at the longer term picture and creating wealth through investing and long term holding and things like that. And then you go over to crypto and people are gambling on meme coins and all kinds of crazy stuff. So all kinds of projects that offer some crazy APYs that are unrealistic. So it would be, I think, what BingX is doing is something cool because, again, like you said, it allows some of the crypto people that maybe have never dipped their toes into the stock market to at least be able to dabble in it a little bit and see, what the differences are between the two spaces and maybe kind of meld the two a little bit together where maybe you can have a little bit of that gambler's mentality in the crypto space, but then you also have, your money working for you in a long-term aspect on the stock side.
Yeah, I really like that. I would love to see more integration like that, especially the mindset change. In crypto in general, I know I personally associate this audience as being younger and
100%.
new to investing. I mean, I know, there's been so many interactions that I personally have had in crypto where I'm definitely questioning, like, how old is this person that I'm talking with? So just getting people introduced into traditional finance. I think if more exchanges can take on, what BingX is trying to push forward, and hopefully something like this is actually regulated and properly distributed out to everybody else in a way that can be sustainable.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think from a regulation standpoint, I kind of had the same thoughts as you. It was just funny because New York and Texas are the two probably most heavily regulated states within an already heavily regulated country. And we're having one of the largest crypto conferences in a state that, you can't really do anything in when it comes to crypto. It's just so locked down in the US in general. So it's kind of funny that they host a super large crypto conference with all these people gathering together. But we'll see what the regulation side of things comes about. We'll see where the US falls on all that stuff, where Texas falls on all that. But, hopefully that, the regulations almost free things up a little bit in the US and maybe potentially tighten things in other countries. And then maybe we'll have a little bit more freedom to on and off ramp and trade a little bit more regularly. Maybe we'll be able to get into a point where, E-Trade and TD Ameritrade and Fidelity and some of these other big stock market exchanges will be able to dip their toes into crypto once regulations happen. And maybe you'll be able to trade crypto assets on their platforms a little bit more freely than, what we currently have available.
Yeah, I mean, it would be insane to see, E-Trade release a DEX and making trades on that.
That'd be wild.
Yeah, especially from my experience starting out trading with E-Trade, when I had to pay for options in and out, I was $50 in, $50 out, and then you get Robinhood changing the game up a bit. And so, yeah, hopefully regulations definitely, I think as a U.S. citizen, I feel like we have a good bit to, there's a bit of upside for us when it comes to the regulations, because it's going to open doors for us that right now we're having to do things to possibly get around that. And, I want everybody to be able to trade safely. I want people to feel like their funds are safe. I know that's a big question about with the decentralized exchanges is you kind of have to put a little bit of trust into the system. And I think that's where Apex Bybit's decentralized exchange comes in, is that you're now, using Bybit's reputation. And I know for us in our business and the things that we've been doing, we haven't had any problems with Bybit. So
yeah, true.
It's been good.
Yeah, I mean, I think Apex is a good starting point from the DEX side of things. I think as we see these centralized exchanges get a little bit more locked down, like Bybit just going full KYC, they're going to lose a good bit of liquidity from there because there's a lot of people that either A, don't want to KYC or can't KYC based off the country that they live in. So, when these exchanges get into these regulations or KYCs that they're going through, that's naturally going to either feed that money into a smaller centralized exchange, which is going to make them larger, or it's going to filter that money into a decentralized exchange, which, I think long term would be a great play because it allows people to really kind of embrace the aspect of crypto, which is one of the biggest features is the decentralized side of things. So the more liquidity that can flow into these decentralized exchanges like an Apex is going to really create an opportunity for everybody to adopt that and get into it and really kind of like own your coins, which is what you don't really do with the centralized exchange currently. So but the downside right now for decentralized exchanges is most of them lack liquidity. So their spreads may be a little bit wide compared to a Binance or a Bybit or something like that. But, I think as these exchanges start locking down their KYCs and things like that, money will start flowing into these DEXs, which will provide additional liquidity, which will tighten the spreads, and then the adoption will kind of flow from there.
Yeah, I definitely see the crypto enthusiasts are going to drive most of the adoption into
100%.
These, DEXs, especially at first. And as time goes on, I feel pretty confident, just like I feel pretty confident with crypto in general, that, people will feel comfortable putting their money into these DEX, hands. And, we've seen a lot of shenanigans in DeFi space that people were willing to put their money into. So only time will tell, but I feel pretty good about it. I know that exchanges weren't really the only people we were talking with. We got a chance to, majority of Consensus is designed, after going to Consensus this year, is very business to business. I know we spoke with a ton of different businesses, and it seemed like every conversation was really geared to how can my business integrate with your business?
100%, yeah. A lot of networking.
It was a ton of networking. And was there anybody in particular, any business in particular that stood out to you to this date?
There was a lot. Obviously you were there, but we had just a lot of people approach our booth, and, they would kind of like hear out our pitch and then they would go into their pitch. And it was, you kind of didn't really know what their end goal was, whether it was, are they actually interested in what you're offering, or are they just like waiting for you to shut up so they can, sell their thing? And there was a good bit of that. It was more of that than I thought there was going to be. But some of the people and some of the things that people were selling or, pitching from a business standpoint was pretty interesting. And then you always got your, it's crypto. So you always got your trash that comes in there, and it's just like, kind of like, what the hell is this? I think Change Finance is one that, again, I really liked what they did and what they offered and what they're trying to do. They built out a lot. Even when we went and talked to them in a conference in California back in the fall of last year, they really only had a mobile app. They didn't have API integrations. They didn't have a ton of liquidity. They only traded certain pairs of coins. And when we went and talked to them this time, it was wildly different. They had API connections. They had liquidity for just about any coin that you wanted to trade. They've just finished up their desktop application, and they obviously also have their mobile app, which is very strong as well. So it was cool to see that like growth from them, and see that, they're continuing to build and continuing to grow as a company, and continuing to add new features and functionality to make their chain more, acceptable or open for people to be able to trade on. So I think that was really cool to see just the growth that they've had. And then, just ultimately, I think personally, just from the conversations I've had with them and the conversations both of us have had with them, I feel like they handle themselves very professionally. They're very smart, educated. Yeah. It's pretty easy in crypto when you're going booth to booth or in general to spot who's good and who's bad. It's not, there's a wide gap between who's good and who's bad. And it's pretty easy to identify that. And I think from the conversations we've had with them, we feel like, they're pretty smart dudes. And, I think they'll be a player for the long term. So it was good to connect with them again and just kind of see their growth and their progression from the last conference we went to this one.
Yeah, that is a great example, especially being able to see the growth and see them kind of evolve in the space. Things have changed wildly since we were in San Jose at the Decentralized conference. And it was mainly, I think, we went right before FTX situation happened.
Like a month before.
Yeah, liquidity has been dried up in ETH, and it was challenging times, and especially challenging for new businesses coming into the space, trying to make some change through innovation. But I'm excited to see what they bring. I found that we got a lot of real estate companies that came by and talked about, integrating blockchain technology, NFTs into real estate, which was interesting. I had a few conversations about commercialized property and how it can all be tied to NFTs. And, some of the things that people were saying made sense to me. Some of it were things I didn't even think about, like, if the deed owner, or I guess the owner of the real estate or property or whatever died, it could be easier of a process if it's handled on chain versus off. I didn't actually verify any of that, but it was interesting to, hear people talk about pitching these businesses that are totally out of this realm of, where I'm not even thinking about that. And they're here pitching this to me, and I'm thinking like, wow, okay, this is pretty cool. This is pushing the grid a little further. I think though, the person that sticks out to me the most is we had this guy show up at our booth, and the thing that stuck out to me the most was that he was wearing a Gucci shirt that looked like it was Hanes. Like he had it,
printed
from like shirts.com or something. And it said Gucci on it. I was like, what the heck? He had shades on while he was talking to us.
That was funny.
His breath smelled like a pound of feces. And he was trying to sell like his magazine. But I got to say, what was really cool is even though the guy was very eccentric and a little bit out there, he scanned his magazine cover from his Instagram ad, and it started, moving around, and it was very augmented.
Was cool. That was cool.
I personally had never seen that before, and up until that point, I was like, when is this guy going to leave our booth? Because he was sitting there talking to us like crazy, but he ended with that, and I thought, you should have started with this.
100%.
I thought that was cool. And it made me rethink everything that he was doing because he was trying to sell ad space essentially. And a magazine was just like, a magazine? Who's buying magazines?
That was exactly my thought. Originally, when he came over and he pitched it and he gave us the magazine, I'm like, who's reading a magazine? Nobody's reading a magazine. But yeah, then he like made the magazine come to life, and by scanning it with Instagram, and then you could like scan individual pages,
the QR codes.
Yeah, with the QR codes, and then those came to life, and I was like, okay, this is actually kind of cool, but like the way you started the pitch was a magazine. It's almost like, it's like, hey, yeah, I'm going to come to your house and deliver a newspaper on a daily basis. It's like, who's picking that up?
Yeah.
But yeah, he definitely should have started with that, because that piece of it was actually cool. It was just, he almost lost me. I mean, he pretty much lost me at the beginning. I was already like, nah, this is dumb.
Yeah, I remember because he slammed his phone down and he like disheveled all of our like marketing materials on our table. I was like, what the heck, guy? But he was very passionate and probably on something very strong. But who knows? Maybe
there's a handful of those people there. So
yes,
par for the course at a crypto conference should be expected.
Yeah. I mean, very typical. Like when you look out into the crowd of people, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this makes sense.
Yeah.
And you could see who the paid actors or actresses were that were literally walking around with signs that are like, take a selfie with me. It's like, okay, good job, CoinDesk, on that. But I did feel like, so for those that don't know, we actually went to Consensus with AstraBit. If you don't know what AstraBit is, they host bread bites, trading bots on their platform. And it was just a really good experience getting to kind of meet this team in person, get a chance to hang out, talk with them, really kind of peel back the curtains a bit and see, like who these people are. You hear this whole term like, oh, these people are docs, not docs, whatever. Everybody has a pseudonym, and you kind of start to associate those people with this crypto pseudonym. Oh, who are these people? And so we know now they're actually real people, and they were good. They were down to earth, and it was good. It was a good chance to just kind of get an opportunity to talk to them and kind of forward think a bit. But yeah, I felt like the Consensus I felt like was more designed for AstraBit, and I know that their the way they pitched it was very much like, we are the game console and Bread Bites is like a game. And I really liked that analogy.
That's true. Yeah.
That's a good analogy to kind of like put out there
that's fair
for everybody. Yeah. I don't know. What were your thoughts on AstraBit, the hangout sessions that we did, working the booth together? Because this was something that was very new to us. Like we were essentially going to this already like out of our comfort zone area, and we're going there with people we've never truly met. It was strange.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think, for me, I think the biggest thing that I leave the conference with after meeting AstraBit is validation. Like, I think both of us are very good at identifying, like I was saying before, like who's good and who's bad in crypto. I feel like, maybe other people don't have this ability of doing this, but I feel like for us, it's very easy for us to spend a little bit of time with someone and identify like, okay, these guys are legit or this is trash.
Yeah.
It's very easy for us to do that. But whenever we, planned on and started working on building Bread Bites a year ago, and we were looking for a platform to host what our strategies were, we had several different options available to us, and we met with different teams and, talked with a lot of different people. And, ultimately we landed on AstraBit. And so, without meeting them in person, there's a level of like trust in yourself of understanding, like, did I make a good decision or did I make a bad decision with this company? And I think coming out of Consensus, meeting them, working with them, going to after parties with them and working the booth with them and all that kind of stuff. It just is validation that, okay, one, we're good at observing and identifying who's good and who's bad. Two, we made a good decision making our partnership with AstraBit. We kind of attached our horse or our carriage to the right horse. So I think that was my biggest takeaway from meeting AstraBit, is just knowing and feeling even more comfortable and confident in like, okay, the team that we partnered with and the product that they offer is something that we stand behind and something that, a team that we can get behind, and we understand, just from our talks with what their future plans are and what they've built so far and their infrastructure and their team and getting to meet other team members that we didn't know before. I think all of that culmination is just, validation that we made the right choice and we picked the right team and the right project to go with to host our strategies on.
100%. Yes, I absolutely agree. I think whenever we first sat down with AstraBit and talked to them, they weren't the first team that we spoke with, but immediately we walked away with that and we were thinking, okay, there's a level of professionalism here that we're starting to dig with. And I know you and I handle ourselves professionally wildly different than everybody else.
True.
So kind of finding a partner that handles themselves in a similar manner, I actually dig that, especially in a space, where pictures of monkeys are worth $500,000.
Yeah.
So
they've got a been there, done that type of mindset and attitude. It's like, we know a lot of these people in crypto, they've built projects and some of them are very smart and some of the projects are very successful. But a lot of times these people, this might be their first venture into a business or first venture into this field of a business. And AstraBit is kind of like, they've been there, they've done that. They're into finance. They've worked on the private equity side of things. They've understood the traditional finance, TradeFi side of things. So they're just bringing a lot of that expertise, that knowledge, that information, and applying it to the crypto space, which is very similar to us. We both came from TradeFi, and we basically have taken our strategies and applied them to crypto. So there's a parallel there between both of our companies that synergy, I think, works well.
Yeah. How many companies, right, have we spoken with that you can just immediately tell like they have no business sense?
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably say it's 80%, at least 80% of the companies that we talk to are pretty much bozos. Like most of the time. I mean,
sadly,
there was a handful. We didn't even have to go talk to some of the booths. We just had to look at the booth.
When short NFTs.
Like, what is that? Yeah. Like, I mean, there's a handful of booths that we could have walked by, and we don't even have to speak with the team. We don't have to do anything. We just have to look at the branding and look at what they've got going on or what they're conveying. And I mean, it's easy. It's that easy to spot sometimes. That's where you can see the really, really bad. And then it gets to a point where it's kind of like, it's almost embarrassing to a sense that it's like, how do they even afford to come here to this event and be able to host and have a booth and stuff? It's like, who is funding that to allow some of these projects that are just like really bad to even show up
for them?
Yeah, same.
We were walking around. I'm like, why?
I mean, we were walking around the day before Consensus started, and they were building all the booths, and we were walking around the center and stuff, and it was just like, there was a handful. We were just like, what is this, and why are they even here? It's crazy.
Yeah. And you mentioned branding, which I know that was some of the biggest feedback, positive feedback that we got as a company.
That was cool.
Was Butters. Butters, if you don't know, Butters is our mascot. He's the bread guy. He was, the name was chosen by the community.
That's true.
And I think so many people stopped by, asked to grab stickers. Oh, my kids love this stickers. Yeah, these are so adorable, blah, blah, blah. Everybody loved it, and I felt very like, I don't know, it's encouraged and was like, this is amazing that our branding was on point, and a lot of people, even those that stopped by to talk to us that were somewhat interested in selling themselves, they took a moment to say, hey, you guys did something right here with this branding, and that reinforced something like, okay, we're making some good decisions over here.
Yeah. I mean, I think both of us are pretty like. We're heavy critiques on ourselves and our own business. So I think it was another validation point for us of like, we felt like our branding was good, but it's like, we don't really till we get other people to
Yeah.
share their thoughts on it, we don't really know what the perception is. We could think it's the greatest thing that's ever, come across the planet, but everybody else could think it's hot shit. So it's like, I think that validation was pretty cool to see, because I felt like, our branding was pretty good, and I actually thought it was even more well received than I ever even thought it was. I mean, I feel like everybody that came up to our booth was like, "Oh, these stickers are so cool," or these mints, I want to pick up a pack of these mints. This is cool. Or just like in general, like when they ask what is bread bites, and even just telling them, like showing them like our number one trading bot is called Cinnamon Toast, and it's our top performing bot.
Yeah.
Like integrating that into like the whole theme of the business, I think people were just digging it, and it was cool to walk away and know that like at least that aspect of our business straight up killed it. So it was cool to see that validation and just understand that like the work that we put in and the effort and time we put into branding, and our graphics designer and the work and design he did to tailor everything and build it out the way we wanted it, and kind of like saw the same vision that me and you saw, for that to come to fruition and then be well received by the community. It was pretty cool to see. I didn't expect it to be that well received.
I'm kicking ourselves that we didn't do the Butter selfie cutout. Like you could just stand there and take a picture with Butter. It's like, that would have been sick.
That's a next conference thing for sure. I mean, we'd have to pay somebody to do this, but if we got them to do like a Butter's outfit and walk around. I mean, I saw a handful of those walking around at Consensus for different companies and stuff, and I'm like, that could have been pretty cool, because I mean, who wouldn't want to take a picture with a giant fluffy piece of bread?
Exactly. I mean, I bet there is somebody in our community, if we just flew them out, they'd be happy to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Be like, I just get free drinks at all the after parties. Okay, yeah, fly me in.
Yeah, for sure.
Stevie looking at you.
Yeah.
I think that, overall, there was so much swag being given out. We gave out stickers and mints, and then we saw those people just coming by with tote bags of a whole bunch of swag.
Oh, yeah.
Personally, I want to know, what was your favorite swag?
That's a tough one, man. I actually, one that was it was kind of simple, but I kind of was digging it, was this company had Bitcoin coasters, like a pack of Bitcoin. Cool. It was like a pack of 4 coasters. They were wood, and then they had the Bitcoin logo engraved inside the coaster, and I was like, pretty sweet, pretty useful. I mean, I'd be interested to hear what everybody else's take is on like the company branding swag. Because I'm sitting here like, okay, if that coaster had a company's name on it, I'm much less interested in it than I am if it's just a coaster with engraved Bitcoin logo. Because the Bitcoin logo, I can just put out wherever and it's just crypto. But if it's like a company's on it, I'm like, I don't know if I want to put that out everywhere. So it's very interesting to see what people's takes are on picking up swag that's unbranded versus branded, and how you would use it or not use it depending on branded or unbranded. But I thought those were cool. There's a lot of cool stuff at Consensus. I mean, every booth had swag. So I mean, if you really wanted to, you could grab a tote bag and just load up on all kinds of shit. But I thought those Bitcoin coasters were pretty cool. Good idea.
I didn't see the coasters. I thought the socks were pretty legit. I know you and I explored getting socks. They're so expensive. And it was just kind of like,
super expensive.
It's not worth it. We did go with mints for anybody who was curious. We actually got a lot of positive comments about the mints too.
We got a lot of people that were eating mints. I mean, we had this one guy. I mean, that was
a power move.
It was blowing my mind, man. This guy comes to the booth and he takes a pack of mints and he's like asking me, "Oh, what is bread bites?" and stuff like that. And this guy is just popping mints. And I was just sitting there conversating with him, and I'm just like, dude, this is crazy. This guy is popping like 5 mints every like 10 seconds. And we probably talked for maybe like 3 minutes, and he ate the whole pack. I'm like, this is basically like a Tic Tac sized pack of mints, and this guy ate all of them in like 3 minutes. I was like,
back.
This guy's got fresh breath for the next 24 hours, guaranteed.
Guaranteed, yeah.
That was wild.
There was a lot of people that struggled opening up the container too. I noticed
it was
that
just pop top.
We had to give like instructions like, hey, you just move this. And there was some odd conversations as well. There was one person, geez, he'll stay with me until the day I die because his stare was so creepy.
I slid out of that convo real quick when I saw you talking to this guy.
I answered him, and there would be like a 5-second pause, and he would just stare into my soul, and I'm like, what is happening right now? I couldn't tell what was happening. And then he would pop a few minutes, and then he'd ask me another question. I'm like, what? So I think if we did another event, I would for sure bring mints again. Probably not as many because we have a shitload of mints. But
yeah, we got a lot of leftover mints. I mean, we gave away a lot of mints,
we
just happened to have a lot of mints. So, I mean, we got a lot left over, but I mean, that was definitely, I mean, we had people that wasn't even coming to talk to us and was like, hey, I just want a pack of mints.
Oh, yes.
And they would just grab a pack and go. So, I mean, we got rid of more mints than I thought we were going to get rid of. But yeah, we got a lot left over, so we can definitely use those for a future event. I thought it was a good, marketing piece. I was a little bit different than what everybody else is doing. I didn't see anybody else there with mints. So we were definitely the only ones with mints. I mean, everybody kind of had the same stuff more or less. Most of them had like maybe a sticker or two with their logo on it. They might have had like a pen or stress ball, something like that. But we definitely, as per usual, we want to do something a little bit different. So I thought the mints were definitely a pretty big hit. I wouldn't be surprised if future events we see other people kind of adopting that idea. I'm sure there's a lot of businesses that grabbed a pack and they were like, man, we should do this next conference.
Yeah. There's only one other person that I saw, or well, not person, but a company that was giving out mints. And,
for real?
Yeah, I walked around. There was a couple, there was one booth in particular. They had to spin the wheel, but you couldn't get any prizes. It was stuff like free hugs and things. And I'm like, okay, you're coming here, everybody's giving out freebies and you're going to give out some hugs. I'm like, all right, I see you.
I guess, yeah. That's a cheap way to go.
Times are tough. Yeah. They're here trying to
bear market, man. Bear market.
Exactly. Trying to get seed money.
Yeah.
So I know that, we experience so much a consensus. I think about, for us selfishly as Bread Bites, we are a trading bot company. Where do you see trading bots in consensus? I mean, I know there was a few other trading bot companies there. Some that were, I guess, could be considered a direct competitor, but most of them were in different leagues, I suppose you could say. But yeah, do you think that consensus was ready for a company like us?
I think we were definitely different than anybody else. Like, I did not see anybody else there that had like custom trading strategies. Like, we saw some, market maker type of bots. We saw, some people or some exchanges
arbitrage
that had bots. We definitely saw a lot of arbitrage. There's a lot of people that either came to us or went to other booths looking for MEV type of arbitrage, trading different exchanges type of bots. But I didn't see any single booth that I could find that actually traded, had custom strategies and you could interface and talk with the strategist directly at the booth. And so I think, obviously I think when we talked about this a year ago, whenever we launched, I think we were one of the first ones to even do anything like this in the crypto space. So we were kind of already in a pioneer type of world. Really there, a lot of what was out there already was copy trading, which it's not really trading bots, obviously. You're just copying some random person on the internet. You have no idea. They could, if they wanted to, hold a trade and be like, oh, it's going to come back. And then they could liquidate everybody. So, and then you have out there grid bots where you can customize your own grid bot, which that is, if you don't know anything about trading, you're not going to be able to figure that out very easily. And then you've got the bots that are housed on the exchanges, which from everybody I've ever talked to, they suck.
Yeah, trash.
They're garbage. So, again, I think, we were kind of in a league of our own in a way with what we came to market with. And then obviously we've had, exponential success throughout the last 9 months with our business. So I think, it's kind of a weird space because I think a lot of people don't quite understand what we're doing. And when they came to the booth, they didn't really quite understand it. And I think they don't understand it because it's not prevalent. Like I said, I think we were the only ones there that had custom strategies built for people to be able to copy trade essentially, or trade our bots directly on their own exchange. So it was interesting to see that. It's cool to see that we are kind of like, somewhat of a pioneer in a space that's, within the niche of crypto. We've got our own little niche here that, not a lot of people know about, or not a lot of people, fully understand, or the way we're doing things is quite a bit different than others. So it was interesting. Like you said, there was kind of some other bots, but they don't do what we do. So I think we were the only ones there that kind of do it from a custom strategy built sense.
Yeah. I could tell too from not only Consensus, but when we went to the previous DeFi convention, that when you talk to these teams, you suddenly find out like, oh, the guy, our trader, he's not here. He's off doing this. And it was a lot of people in the front house that were just trying to sell things that they didn't understand. And a lot of them, especially the conversations that we had, I was shocked that they couldn't even answer basic questions. Whereas Bread Bites is a small team. There's 3 of us. The strategies are built off of strategies that we have pioneered, and Alexa has coded them up, and each of us can speak to every aspect of this business very thoroughly. And I felt like, we showed that at Consensus too, especially we showed it to AstraBit and to anybody else that was paying attention around us. But when somebody came up, we had all the answers. I know this was a little bit of a worry for me. I always worry about that. It's like somebody can ask me a question and I'm going to panic and be like, and nobody asked me a question that I didn't have an answer for. All the questions. In fact, the question that I got asked the most was, do you trade your bots?
Yep.
And I keep thinking like, yeah, I trade my
Obviously.
bots. And then it would be followed up, well, if your bots are so successful, then why are you selling them? And I think it's hard for people to realize that it takes a lot of money to move the market. If I had $10 million, perhaps we would not be selling this strategy.
That's very true.
You know what I mean? So if we had enough money to move the market to be noticeable where our strategy might then be counter traded, then in that case, yeah, we probably wouldn't be selling it, but we're selling it because there's an opportunity there. And at least I know, because I know you and you know me, we have, especially in previous companies that we've created, are trying to educate people on not just earning passive income, but like true passive income, things like dividends, and trading bots are not get rich quick, scheme. And this is something that I talked to. It was a part of my sales pitch, is letting people know, like, we are in it for the long haul. Yes, it is hard to ask a retail investor to commit to something more than a month, but I know, especially the people who have been in our community for long periods of time, they see that this trading bots, not just with Bread Bites, but any strategist, I would feel somewhat confident saying that their strategy is going to perform better long term than it will short term.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think when it comes to our trading bots and just trading bots in general, I think there's obviously a little bit of a stigma there of just trying to understand what it is and how it works, and what obviously there's a level of trust for the user and things like that. So it is interesting whenever someone comes up. I think that's probably our most common question is, why, if your bots are so successful, then why would you be selling them? And it's a question that I never can wrap my brain around. I don't know. I don't never understand the point of the question. My rhetorical remark to that every single time is like, okay, if you build a product and it's successful, why wouldn't you sell it and use it?
Yeah.
It's like if I built Netflix and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to watch these movies myself. I'm not going to allow anybody else to watch these. I'm just going to sit in my house. I'm going to own all this content.
Yeah.
And I'm not even going to sell it. It's what?
That's a great example.
What is the point? Like, it makes no sense. If you've got a product that you can use, but then you can also monetize, like, what?
Yeah, this is such a great movie. It's the best movie in the world, but I don't want anybody else to see it.
Yeah, I'm only going to be the one that watches it. I'm not going to send or allow anybody else to subscribe or pay for this specific movie, because I'm going to be the only one that watches it. It makes no sense. Like, if you built a product and you can use it, but then you can also allow other people to use it, like, what's the risk? Or why wouldn't you do that? Makes no sense.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I kind of wish you would have dropped that analogy to
I just
me
came off the
before.
top of my dome right now.
That would have been perfect to deliver to these people, because I did have to explain that to everybody, essentially. Just, yes, we are trading it. One thing that I think separates us from a lot of other people, and this is something you and I talk about a lot, is transparency. And it was something that we were promoting at Consensus as well, is that all of our trades, every single one of our trades, they are time-stamped on our website. Even if you say, you know what, I'm not even going to trust these bread guys, forget them. You could go to our trade logs and you can go take that to TradingView and you can see for yourself whether or not our strategy would have had the room to take profit or stop out. Everything is public knowledge and know-how. I think that's why we have built such a strong following to begin with, is that no one ever questions our logs. And when people do openly question, as we just saw today, there's always a valid reason for it. You either up the leverage at the wrong time, you added more funds, removed funds, and it's a constant education of just basic math concepts. Really what it boils
There's
down
just
to.
a lot of variables at the end of the day. Like if you set up the strategy and you don't touch it and you don't do anything with the settings or anything like that, your results should relatively closely reflect what our trade logs is. But if you add money at a certain time, or you up your leverage or lower your leverage or take money out, obviously that's going to alter your results. And I think sometimes people don't really kind of put that whole picture together. And then they're kind of wondering why their results are different. And it's like, well, once you add a new variable in, from a statistics standpoint and a number standpoint, it changes the whole outcome of everything. Once you make even just a small change, if you add, even if you add $100 into your account, that could be good or bad depending on performance of the bot, but that alters your entire results. Or if you up your leverage from 2x to 3x, your results are going to obviously be different. Or if you go from 3x down to 2x, everything gets altered when you make just a small variable change.
Yeah, and I could tell when I talked about leverage to other people too, you could get a sense right away of the people that were like, you guys allow leverage? Like, they're scared about it. They don't understand that, okay, yes, leverage can be super scary, but it doesn't have to be. It could be just like any other tool that is in your trader's tool belt, and you could utilize it properly. Or you could be, like, think about a lighter. You could light a field on fire, or, you could start a campfire. One is good, one is terrible.
Right.
And I think a lot of people associate leverage with bad things, and we are trying to promote positive leverage, utilizing small amount. Like, leverage has gone back to the dawn of time. I mean, the pyramids were built using leverage of humans, and
true.
Leverage is it's ingrained into economics and finance. So I think it's important for people to know that they don't have to put all of their available spending cash in this one investment. They could use a small amount, add some leverage, and then they can spread their money out into other things, diversify, which is something else that we talk heavily about. But yeah, I mean, we could go all day about all of that.
I know for hours on that stuff.
As far as consensus goes, I know we're pretty close to wrapping up here. I did see some big players there. I saw Polygon, I saw Tron, and I gotta say, Tron's booth was pretty dope.
That was pretty legit.
I don't know what that was. It was like a chamber or something.
This shit was wild, man. I'm like, I was sitting there, I was looking at it, and I'm like, how much this costs? It had to have been expensive. Like, I'm talking
six figures.
Yeah, easy. It's probably, that booth was probably like $250,000, maybe at least 100,000, at a minimum 100 grand. I'm like, I mean, even Polkadot's booth is the same. They were there as well, and Polkadot's booth.
That's
I mean,
right.
that thing was super freaking long. I mean, it took up a large amount of space. I'm like, you could probably fit about 8 to 12 booths in their one area. Yeah. Surface area of their booth. So, it was wild to see some of the booths that were out there, and what, from a dollar figure standpoint, I was just looking at it and I'm like, first off, CoinDesk has to be raking it in on that, because all they're really doing is renting out the space and then providing, the booth structures and stuff like that. But the dollar figure that they have to be making, I mean, it's got to be insane.
I thought we were in a good spot too, because we're right next to the podcast. So we got an opportunity to see people in this podcast little area.
True.
And then right to the left, we are near their like news station, and we got to see sort of a behind the scenes of like what a news station would look like, and
True.
and see these people come up, and we would hear them, and it was interesting. I think with Tron specifically, I saw people walking around in Tron like onesies,
I did not see that.
backpacks.
Dang.
Legit backpack, New Era hats. Like, I was like, man, their swag game was on point.
They went all out.
Yeah, but I think those were like big because you had to do something over there. I mean, mostly I worked the booths, so I didn't get an opportunity during those peak times to really go to those booths and play their games. But yeah, it was interesting to see some of these big players. And it wasn't just super crypto ingrained businesses either. PayPal was there, MasterCard.
Robinhood was there.
That's right. And they get a chance to showcase some of their technology and the things that they're doing because they know that eventually they're going to have a hand in this space. I mean,
100%.
PayPal already does, right, with Venmo.
Right.
So
and there, yeah, you can buy and sell crypto within Venmo. So yeah,
it was interesting to see that.
My biggest, like, just the wildest thing to me was just like, just again, a dollar figure. It was crazy, man. I mean,
yes.
or even just whenever they sent like Consensus and CoinDesk sent us like the initial costs of breakdowns of everything. I mean, it was insane, man. Like the lanyard to brand the lanyard that everybody wore was like $100,000. I'm like,
Stellar.
Yeah, Stellar, dude. Stellar was everywhere.
Networking lounge.
Yeah, they had so much stuff. I'm like, they had to spend probably close to $1 million on all that stuff, and it's just like, I'm like, how do you get your ROI back out of that? Because the chances of me taking my lanyard off and then looking at the company on it and then researching or investing in that company after I get out of the conference is like -5. Like, there's no, why would I do that? Like, and I'm just like, if you're paying $100,000 to put your company brand on the lanyard, I'm just like, there's no way you're making your money back.
Yeah. I mean, I remembered who it was and I can see their networking lounge sign and it sticks out. But yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, how do they afford to pay for this? Or not afford, how do they afford to it? How do they justify?
Exactly.
I will say that the after parties, a lot of them were hosted by, like, well, I think one of them was hosted by JP Morgan. And it was just
I did see that, yeah.
Yeah, it was like a lot of people that weren't doing booths were hosting these parties that were designed for their employees essentially to network and kind of shop for business. It was a great move on their part. And I think there was like 150 after parties.
There was a ton.
First night. I mean, it was insane.
It was insane. I did not really expect there to be that many after parties. I mean, we had our after party and I just thought, I didn't think there was going to be much competition there. Honestly, I thought it was going to be, there were going to be a handful of them. I thought, ours was going to be, it was a good idea for us to host a private event after the first night and stuff like that. And it was crazy to see how many after parties there were. But some of those companies that hosted the after parties but didn't attend the event, I mean, in my opinion, that's kind of genius.
Yeah, it is.
Because you're skipping out on a lot of the cost, but you're still getting the benefit from the networking side of it by hosting the event, capturing all the people that come to your event, but you're skirting the cost of the actual, conference itself.
Yeah, I think it's a way for them they could spend that money, hire, a couple of influencers, DJs, or even a celebrity to show up, and you're going to get people flooding in, which is exactly what happened. The Cosmic Coffee event was nice. It was good we got a chance to talk to Crypto Travis, and he was the only subscriber that showed up. I don't know if we have too many people in the Austin, Texas area, but it was nice to pick his brain, get his feedback. And I like to think that from his perspective, it was good to see that kind of like what we just said about AstraBit, that we are real.
We're real people, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it validated us a bit. And he had some questions. He was talking to Alexa and I, and we, answered them in a way where it was like, I remember his comment. He was like, "I've seen you answer this question many times in chat, but the way you explained it right here was different." He's like, you need to convey this message out to, other people in this similar way. And it's like, okay, we're trying to do that constantly, but it was, I want I wish we could get more subscribers out, and I like to get that real feedback and that real sense. And
yeah, it was nice.
Yeah, and it was also nice to see some of these other businesses show up and be like, "I'm trading your bot."
Yeah, that was cool.
And it was like, it was really. It was even crazier is I took an Uber home from the convention, and the guy thought I was you.
That was wild,
knew
man.
the bot, knew everything, and I'm like, not only. I mean, first off, this guy just I basically hard dogged myself because he took me to my home. So he knows exactly where I live. He said he was in our Discord. He was like, I'm in your Discord. So I'm like, great. Hopefully, it's not like a bad individual, but.
That was wild. When you were texting me that, I was like, man, I wish I was there for that. When you were like, yo, I'm in an Uber and this guy's in our Discord and he thought I was the bread maker. That was epic, man. I wish I was in that car ride. That would have been freaking awesome.
Yeah, it was strange. It was weird. It was kind of cool though. We had an opportunity. He actually wasn't a subscriber to our bots, but he said that he'd been watching us for a while. And I think again, he hasn't mentioned anything or said anything in our chat, but I think just knowing like I met this person kind of provides us that validation that a lot of people need in crypto especially. So I wouldn't be surprised if he signed up. And I know you and I have talked about doing more live events, especially
that would be cool.
Austin. Austin has gotten so many people that have flooded here. I think doing a Baking Profits live would be
cool.
Yeah, it would be legit. I mean, I don't know how that works, but maybe in the future, who knows?
That would be pretty cool. I mean, like you said, like Austin is it's become very tech centric, which in that aspect of things, obviously crypto is kind of flowed into that. So I think, obviously we were joking before about how consensus is in Austin and, Texas is so locked down regulation wise, but it is a very tech friendly city and it's very business. Texas is a very business oriented state. And then, on top of that, just crypto is fairly popular in Austin. It's one of the more popular cities crypto wise than anywhere else in the U.S. So it would be super cool to either do some more live events or even do a live episode of this or something like that in Austin with other people that either are familiar with crypto or familiar with our bots, familiar with our business, things like that. Meeting more of those people would be super cool.
Absolutely. And if you're in the Austin area and you attend any sort of crypto group or you do anything that's crypto related, hit us up, reach out to us, let us know. We would love to just attend one of those. I mean, we've been to a few, but they're very small and we want to start something. We want to start a movement here in Austin, especially prepare for next year's consensus. It's so crazy that now it's like everybody's talking about 2024 consensus. It's like,
it's quick.
It is quick. It's like,
we're like one or 2 weeks removed from consensus and it's already on to the next one.
Yeah. And hopefully, we'll have a better, I guess, plan for bread bites at the next consensus. I thought,
I think we learned a lot.
Yeah, exactly. I do think
there's a lot of things that we could either do differently or do better or just come to the table with something different. So, I think being this as our first consensus, time and first time, running a booth in that situation, I think we did learn a lot and gleaned a lot of information from it and know, what we can do next time to be even more prepared and more networking and get more business and things like that. So I'm looking forward to that.
As I am as well. And I know we are pretty much wrapped up with this consensus recap. And I just want to say thank you for everybody who was out there, who attended consensus and made consensus happen. I know there's a lot of people, and I'm not just saying CoinDesk, but I saw a ton of people walking around just picking up trash, just ensuring that people knew where to go and, escorting people to their booths. And I just want to say thank you to all those people. You're hardworking. We appreciate you. And thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.
Yeah. See you on the next one.
Take care.
Thanks.